This is Inspirational Women, a weekly series shining the spotlight on female trailblazers making a true difference in our community. Once again, here is Kate Daniels.
Continuing our focus on hope and what we might do to make this year just that much better, day by day, we meet Heidi Smith, a local author, a women's soccer expert, a veteran soccer player, and coach. Heidi has done a great amount of research to bring us her book, Play On, From Adversity to Advantage Through 140 Years of Women's Soccer. And do not zone out because you might think soccer isn't particularly relevant in your life. This book, this content, is applicable to all facets of a woman's life. Heidi Smith, good morning, and thank you so greatly for being with us this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for this amazing book, Play On, From Adversity to Advantage Through 140 Years of Women's Soccer. Boy, talk about really an eye-opener. Talk about history and just awareness, lack of awareness, just what women had to contend with and still have to contend with. And to see that it's been going on for so long is just kind of mind-bending. I'm sure you found that, or you knew that probably, and as you wrote, was that actually just shocking to you?
Yes and no. I think I grew up with Title IX. I started playing soccer when I was 6 years old, which was the year that Title IX was passed, and so I actually played long enough and coached for a little while enough to have experienced a number of the things that are in the book. And at the same time, I also uncovered a lot of information that was brand new to me and I think will be to others as well.
And what I found interesting is that along with writing about sports and being actively involved, coaching, having your coaching career, teaching, that writing is really kind of this nugget, this essence, this at the center of it all. So in that way, you're such a great storyteller in being able to bring all of this research, all these stories together into this very compelling book, Play On.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's encouraging to hear.
So it was for you, as you said, there were some things that were enlightening, but in writing the book, was it a long process?
Very much so. It began in 2015 during the Women's World Cup of that year, and it began with a Nike commercial of all things about the U.S. women's national team that just kind of hit me in a way that no women's soccer ad had ever hit me before because they had always, like previously, been just kind of portraying the team as these really likable, approachable, just people just like us. And this ad really showed the team, all of their athleticism and competitiveness and aggression. And that was just something I'd never seen before. And I just had this emotional moment in my boyfriend's kitchen in the middle of this World Cup watch party. And it's like, oh, and I thought there's something here because it really spoke to my experience as a woman, as an athlete. And I thought, I bet I am not the only one who feels this way. And that launched the whole process. And then it took another 9 years to conduct all the interviews, do all the research, and then figure out how I was going to put all of this together in a way that would be not incredibly daunting for a reader and make sense and have a degree of coherence. So yeah, it's been a 9 year journey thus far.
Oh, thus far. Oh, wow. Like who knows what tomorrow and, next year and such could bring along. But it's really such an important piece of writing, this insight into sports, as someone who's not been involved, but I see how much soccer there is played and how girls are really so involved. I have this, I guess, naive approach, like, oh, this is so great. They all have this opportunity and they're playing. And we have the professional women's soccer leagues in this country. Well, I guess elsewhere in the world, too. So, I had, again, a naive approach like, oh, this is so great. Isn't it wonderful?
is wonderful, and it didn't just happen.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the purpose of this book, is to look at how did we get here? Because it really took a tremendous amount of work and just persistence and love of the game, and working together on the part of thousands of women all over the world, and it still does. But I think more importantly, in a way, this the level of investment and interest in all of that we have in women's sports now, um, that's possible in other arenas for women, because we have certainly not achieved equality in like across the board. If you look at the corporate world or the media or Hollywood or any of those places. And so I think that beyond just women's soccer, there are lessons to be taken from what these women did, how they achieved what they did, and how they got to just where we are now, because right now we're in this unprecedented moment with women's soccer and with women's sports in general.
And well, certainly, I'm thinking of basketball right now and how that is definitely how it's become so much more embraced across the board than ever before. So it's still like really, really fresh. And it might be true with soccer, but I can't speak to that completely. But I mean, here in Seattle, we have the Seattle Rain that has been doing outstanding work and playing professionally for I don't know how many years actually.
It's been a long time, and I actually remember one of their games. One of my friends, as a birthday present, we got tickets to a game, and it was in, I think it was Memorial Stadium. It was like a high school stadium, and there were maybe right next to Seattle Center, and
Yes.
just a few thousand people, and and they had Hope Solo as the goalkeeper. Megan Rapinoe was playing then, I believe it was 2015. Um, Incredible players from all over the world, but just not nowhere near the audience that there is today. So the Rain, they went down to Cheney Stadium in Tacoma for a while. Now they're playing at Lumen Field, which is appropriate
Hmm.
to who they are. And so the NWSL has grown incredibly. It is the third attempt at a women's league in this country, and the first two failed for various reasons. So there's been a bit of a rocky history there, but this is by far the most successful effort we've ever had, and so it's something to celebrate.
Yeah. Oh, it does feel like that. And yet, when you say, you went to the game in 2015, that's only 10 years ago. So
Mhm.
it really has been a slow growth in that regard. But we'll count be grateful for where we are and trust as we keep moving on.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's both. It's celebrating where we are and recognizing where we are, and at the same time understanding how we got here.
Yes. Well, and that's where it's just amazing to read the stories in your book playing on of women's soccer around the world and what had to be overcome and really just not even being able to go to stadiums to watch the games that they were banned, forbidden to be there. Things like that just it's a naive thought that really that was going on, but yes, that's our history.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, it's our current history. If we're talking
Yeah.
about Iran, that I believe it was as of 2019, the Iranian government stopped the total ban on women being able to watch. But before that, you had girls dressing up as men. Just they loved soccer. They wanted to be able to get in, watch their national team, watch their club team. But if they got caught, they were beaten. In some cases, they were sent to the worst prison in the country. And I mean, I don't have the exact current status on this, but the latest that I know is that there's sort of a token effort to allow a certain number of women into a part of the stadium, and they have to be kept completely separate from men. But it's not equal treatment by any stretch, and that is as of today.
It,
So yeah,
yeah.
we've come far, but we have a ways to go.
Yes. And that's the kind of thing that it's easy not to be aware of. Unless we're
Hmm.
reading these stories, it's brought to our attention and we see how it is totally mind-boggling that this should go on. Like, why should that happen? Why should there be such laws and rules? And I think, like when you were mentioning with Iran, the girls ask for where these laws come from. And it's not even something that is religious in nature. So it's someone's, I don't know, attitude.
Yeah, they went to the clerics and said, "Where in the Quran is this that it says we can't watch an athletic event?" And it was nowhere. And the clerics actually said, "No, it's not there," and they were right. So they had no leg to stand on, but it didn't change anything.
Because then if you look below the surface, it just occurs to me what's going on is control. Is,
Hmm.
because I said so, it's going to be this way.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah. And so I think that's, in writing this book, Playing On, you are really exposing us to what's going on in the world, what has gone on, continues to go on. And it's important for us to know because we don't know where we might play a part in making a difference, being part of making the difference that this changes and supporting women who are going through the struggles.
Yeah, and I think I mean just right here at home, the simplest way to do that is just support women's sports, support women's soccer, go to a rain game, or if you're not local, watch it on television. But just get involved to that degree. I think internationally, we have a World Cup coming up next year, a men's World Cup, and that means all eyes will be on FIFA. And FIFA, which is the international governing body of soccer, does have the power to make some of these changes. And so it's a good time to put some focus on them and send some letters or some emails, some letters. Boy, I just went back about 3 decades. Uh, but um, yeah, just be in touch with them, put some pressure on them because they can make some change in Iran. And they can recognize, for example, the Afghan women's national team, which had to be flown out of the country along with their families in fear of their lives in 2021 when the Taliban retook Afghanistan. So
So that's how
there's things we
current
can,
we're
yes,
talking about. I mean, that's this decade, not that many years,
yes.
right? Yes.
Hmm.
So to your point about sending letters, sending emails, I still have the mindset of letters because it feels like, oh, this is so much more official. But really, no, emails will definitely bring home that point, right?
Yeah, and I think social media is
Ah,
probably the most powerful tool we have at this point, and it does garner attention. So just to put a focus on these issues and don't let them just sort of sports wash all of this during the Men's World Cup.
yes, absolutely. So the book, it's been basically about a decade getting here. But it's taken a lot of research because I mean you were looking across the whole globe to get information to, I think, give us this really good broad picture that it's not just, oh well, it's a US problem or a US issue. No, this is a worldwide issue.
It absolutely is. It was important to me to include as much as possible voices from around the world, and unfortunately, I am monolingual, so I got a bit of French, but that's all I got. So I that limited what I could really read and watch. Watch some documentaries with subtitles, but um, most like regardless of what the issue is, either we probably are still experiencing it in this country on some level, depending on what industry you're in, or we certainly have in the not too distant past. And so I think that the issues that affect women are just the issues that affect women. And that's really what this game embodies. So it embodies both the challenges, but also the solutions. Um, and we see those in the global, just the global game and how people have overcome these things.
Hmm. And the need to speak up, to really, well, we were saying, make our voices, our comments known on social media, but not to turn a blind eye to anything. It's to just really make sure that that lens is always there, and making sure that the real story is coming forward.
Yeah, and I think the media has an important role to play in that as well. And the media, for example, had a huge role in the NWSL scandal that broke back in 2022, and that was what was happening there. Was just a number of players had come forward with allegations of sexual abuse and verbal abuse on several different teams within the National Women's Soccer League, and it launched this year-long investigation by the NWSL. Actually, it was by an independent body, and at the end of it, they said we have found systemic abuse throughout all levels of soccer in this country, and it was really painful and eye-opening, and at the same time it was the beginning of turning things around, because you have to know what you're dealing with in order to change it, and that moment was kind of that turning point. So important to look at things and then to decide what to do next.
Right. And I dare say, of course, being armed with more information, such as we find in Play On, that's why I think it is important reading to really get, if one doesn't have this broader view and real specific instances, then I think this just fortifies being able to speak very straightforwardly about what needs to be done.
I think so. And at the same time, what I hope that women and men who have daughters or who coach girls or who teach girls, what I hope that they also take away some things that are more on a personal level, just understanding some of the differences in coaching boys and girls and just in internal processes, because yes, a lot of these things are big and global and external, but there's also things that are much more internal that I think are equally important to be aware of. And I could give you an example if that's helpful.
And I was thinking that, yes, because of course women are different. The way we react to things and our bodies are different with our hormonal balances and imbalances and such. And is that what you're actually referring to?
It's two things. That's one of them. But one thing that I found that was incredibly helpful and just explained a lot of things to me was from Dr. Colleen Hacker. She was the mental skills coach for the U.S. women's national team through 3 World Cups and 3 Olympic Games. And I was asking her about this thing that I really perceived as a confidence gap. And it's been discussed, and more like if you look at top CEOs, 75% of all top women CEOs have had imposter syndrome.
Mm.
There's just there's been entire books written about the confidence gap based on gender, but I asked her about this and she said that's not what it is. It's attributions. And so attributions are essentially the stories that we tell ourselves to explain our successes and our failures. And they fall into 2 categories, external and internal. So external attributions would be I'm successful because my boss just likes me, or the sun was out today, or I'm being a little facetious, but I'm just lucky, or I was in the right place at the right time. An internal attribution for success would be I'm really good at my job, that's why I got promoted. I am always in the right place at the right time on the field, whatever it is, but it's me. And then the same is true with failures. And what's interesting is that in general, women tend to attribute their successes to external factors outside of their control and their failures to internal factors. And with men, it's the opposite. And the way this plays out in coaching is that you have a lot of women who are disqualifying themselves preemptively from even applying for jobs because they just think, oh, I'm not good enough to apply for that. So that actually the number of coaches now in the NCAA, for example, is substantially less than it was in 1972 when Title IX is passed, which is just ridiculous. But when I I've talked about this with a number of my female friends because I certainly recognize that. It's like, yes, if I don't succeed, it's like there's something terribly wrong with me. I'm not looking at it objectively. And if I do succeed, it's kind of, well, great. It's the pick me syndrome. Please, somebody pick me,
Mm,
but it's external. And so when I talked to Dr. Hecker, she works with elite athletes all over the world, and she just said, I wish that women would have a bit more of a male attitude toward attributions, meaning I know why I was successful and owning why they were successful and not defaulting to, oh, uh, somebody just likes me or
yeah.
what, whatever that is, because that really does lead to imposter syndrome. And then just not being so hard on ourselves when we fail and understanding what's at work there.
Hmm. Oh, that's a big one. I'm nodding along as you say these things. I could really relate. It obviously is very much of a feminine, a female attribute that we. So that is really important insights. Thank you for putting our attention on that, Heidi.
Yeah, well, and then the other one you mentioned, if you want me to go into it, I don't have to, but just the hormone cycle issue. That was another piece that I had no idea about. That with women, it turns out that hormone cycles have a really direct relationship to our risk of tearing our ACLs, which are, in our knees. So there was just this epidemic of ACL tears among elite athletes a few years back, and people really started looking at this. But it also turns out that where we are in our hormone cycles impacts the severity of traumatic brain injuries if we have them, and then our recovery rates, and then also rates of anxiety and depression. Like, I really wish I'd known all these things 40 years ago. It would have been helpful. And I think that just for young girls, for parents of young girls, for anyone who cares about girls and women, and for women, just to understand, like, this is such an under-researched area. And for us to understand what we're dealing with during all of those years of dealing with hormone cycles and beyond, obviously perimenopause and post and menopause are equally understudied, but it would be incredibly beneficial to know more about our own bodies and how it works.
Oh, absolutely. Again, incredible insight. And as you said, it just hasn't been researched enough. So yes, it's so critical for us to know that so that we can be making better decisions and choices and understanding what is going on with us. Wow, that's incredible.
Well, and understanding that there are things that we can do about it, because there are things with diet and there are things with supporting sleep, and it doesn't have to be, we don't have to just say, oh, that's how it is and too bad. We actually, the science is coming along to support how we can address this, but if you don't know about it, you won't know about that either. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, really great understanding. So play on. This book just gives us such a great overview, and as you say, you could have put more into it, but it still has, I think, so much value and great stories, important stories here for us to learn from and to guide us. For anyone who's working with girls and young women just for our own information, those who are coaching and teaching, very, very critical. So now that you've done that and you said you wish you'd known that 40 years ago, but do you miss that? Do you miss coaching and being with the girls?
I think I more enjoy participating sort of here and there at this point. I was between teaching and working with teenagers in other capacities. I spent about 23 years doing that, and I consider myself semi-retired from that aspect of my life. It was hugely valuable, and I loved it while I did it. And I think I've moved on now more to the writing phase, and it's still kind of peripheral. I'm education adjacent, but not as directly involved as I once was.
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense. We grow, we evolve and find different interests. And although reading in your book, you've had this passion for writing since a young age.
It's I when I was 6, I said, going to be a writer, was if anyone asked me what I was going to do with myself, which I don't know why you would ask a 6-year-old, but that was my answer. So here we are.
And so here you are, with this book,
Yes.
which is available. It's quite freshly out, but we could get it at all of our favorite book sources, preferably our brick and mortar stores, our indie stores, right?
I think it's making its way there for right now. Unfortunately, don't listen, Amazon. Fortunately, it's only available in kind of the bigger guys right
Yeah.
now, but I
Yes.
am working on getting it available in all of the brick and mortars and coming soon. I'll be posting that on my website just as soon as that happens.
Great. And libraries, I happen to know it's coming into Seattle Public Library. So, yes. See, so that's a start. You read the book, then you say, I need my copy. Oh, it's gift giving season. Oh, I better go shopping and share this with some very important people in my life.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Yes, I think if you have a woman, regardless of whether she's interested in sports per se or not, I think there are things here that will resonate.
I totally agree because while I've not really been into sports, but it's go Mariners. Um, but we all have,
Sad.
yes, exactly.
Good morning.
Tears dribbling down. But
Yes.
the theme of women and just seeing the history, I mean, that is just so compelling and eye opening that I think it's something we just need to know. We need to, open ourselves up to this because we just have to know that we can't keep repeating the same things over and over again. So we need to learn.
My boyfriend keeps referring to this book as a template. It's like a template for how to deal with these issues. And so I've started referring to it that way myself. Like, let's just call it a template and
Okay.
template for how to make change.
Why not? Yes. However we want to look at it. Stories, though, are a way that we learn. It's a way to really pass on information. It's not just entertainment. There's really great education that goes on here. And I'm just grateful to have these insights because it was really such an eye-opener for me. And I hope that it is for those who are kind of in my similar situation, but for others who as we were saying, work with girls and young women, coaching and teaching, really important insights.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And it has been interesting. A few of the folks I've spoken with along the way here have been a lot of the first people I spoke with were men in the media and coaches, and they were coaches of girls, and they said, wow, I never thought of things that way, and that explains so much, and that will change how I am coaching these girls. And so I think it's yeah, if you care about girls and women, you hopefully
This,
find something.
yeah, exactly. And so let's mention your website.
It's Heidi Smith writer with w.com.
Great. So take a look there, get more information, make connections, keep up with what's going on. We would hope for maybe some bookstore appearances, that sort of thing, locally, right? That would be great.
Yes, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Working on that too.
Excellent. So keep an eye on the website then. Well, Heidi Smith, this has really been such a great time of good information and good insights. Thank you for doing this work, for having the passion for it, and of course for spending time with us today.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Kate. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. Good talking with you.
Good to talk with you. Thank you for being here this morning to meet these special guests with their important stories and the opportunities they offer us to make our life better. Please check this station's website for the podcasts for more information about these guests, and please share the stories with your family and friends. I'm Kate Daniels. If you'd like to connect with me, simply send me an email, katedaniels@hubbardradio.com. 2026 is here. Let's live the best day, one day at a time.
Thank you for listening to Inspirational Women. Tune in every Sunday morning at this time to hear about those truly empowering the Northwest community, all for the greater good. Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women are a public service of Hubbard Radio Seattle.